In today's show, the Trailblazers blitz the Bucks to close out a road trip with a win. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's program, we're talking a Blazers beat down 115-103 against the Bucks. It wasn't even remotely that close. Closing out a road trip with a win. Coming away on a 3-game road trip with 2 victories. Doing work. Looking like just a straight up way better basketball team than the old Cream City Heroes, the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll get into that. I want to talk about a bunch about Donovan Clingan. I want to talk about Jerami Grant, who was very good in this game. A season high 35 points from JG. Continues a streak where he's been really good, except for one funny game where he didn't make a single shot. We'll get into all of that in today's game. We'll start with our fastest recap in the West, and let's get into it. Without further ado, Blazers go into Milwaukee, second night of a back-to-back without Shaedon Sharpe. Still out with a right calf injury. He was ruled out, in the early afternoon reports, but not a full 24 hours ahead. And if you're scoring at home, maybe that's better. It's hard to know. But they're still rolling along with this Denny, Tumani, Jerami Grant, Donovan Clingan, and Sidi Sissoko in the starting lineup. They're still going to play Caleb Love a bunch of minutes in this game. But Rob Williams, who did not play in OKC, available on the second night of a back-to-back because they kind of picked their spots with him. I think they did the right thing by picking this be the Rob game. And the Blazers come out and lead by as many as 12 in the first quarter, go into the break after one up 32-27. They've not trailed in this game. They've pretty much rolled and gotten what they wanted early. They've had just a back-to-back. Well, I guess the OKC game was a nightmare immediately, but in games where they were competitive, really, really nice first quarters against Golden State on Friday, and then again against the Bucks on Monday. The Milwaukee Bucks kind of get a little something going. They get Bobby Portis pick and pop threes in this little pick and roll action with Cole Anthony, Carolina legend. And they take a lead twice by 1 point. They led for a total of 32 seconds. 32 game seconds. Blazers go into halftime up 12. They close the quarter strong after trailing by 1 a couple times with about 8 minutes left in the quarter. They put Rob Williams in. They say, okay, that pick and pop's hurting us. Let's put in our switchier big. Let's shut this down. They get going. Up 12. Third quarter, out of halftime. Blazers have had some stinkers in the third quarter recently. This has been their bugaboo, even in games when they've been competitive. It's just like coming out of halftime playing poorly, and they don't do that. Instead, they do turn the ball over on their first. I will say they turn the ball over on their first 2 possessions of the third quarter, but they just don't let the Bucks do anything. Milwaukee just never had even any semblance of an offensive rhythm, and the Blazers. After Jerami Grant hits 2 free throws late in the quarter, and Grant lived at the free throw line in this game, they're up 21, 95-74 heading into the fourth. Blazers led by as many as 33 in that fourth quarter. And with 9 minutes left in the game, after a Caleb Love 3, they'd hit 17 of their first 37 threes. They'd finished with 18, their third highest 3-point make total of the season, and they cruise. They played about 2.5 minutes of real deal garbage time. They played their starters probably more than it's a young coach thing. Tiago's like, okay, we're up 24 with 5.5 minutes left. I can't do it yet. I don't trust him yet. And then get 2.5 minutes of real deal garbage time, and the Bucks trim the lead to, they only ended up losing by 12, 115-103. That's your fastest recap in the West. Dominant game. Not even close. 12-point margin says nothing about how dominant the Blazers were. A couple thoughts on this. Let's start with the obvious one. the Bucks stink. Like, I know that they can press a button at some point that says, get one of the 5 best players in the world on the roster. And like Giannis Antetokounmpo special, he's an all-time great, one of the great players of his generation, a joy to watch, all those things, right? Like I have no, Giannis is I'm a legitimate fan, right? Like, but boy, do the Bucks have nothing going for them. They don't have anyone who can guard. Like, Jerami Grant has 35 in this game, got to the free throw line 19 times. Denny Avdia had a totally good game, 22 points, 4 boards, 5 assists, but like it wasn't one of those like monstrous Denny games. In fact, he weirdly struggled inside the arc. He just made 1-2 in the whole game. Like, and he's usually just such a monster at the rim. Like if anything, like Denny shot it better than he usually does from 3, but struggled a bunch, kind of struggled a bunch inside the arc. So it wasn't like one of those games like Denny's, he's had 30-point triple-doubles recently. It wasn't one of those games where it's just like, well, yeah, dude, like the guy who's going to be on the All-Star team just dominated you. It was like, they didn't have anyone to guard Denny, but it wasn't like he got nuts. They didn't have anyone to guard Jerami Grant. They don't have anyone who can defend on the perimeter. Nobody. No, like, I don't know, like no, like deep disrespect to AJ Green. Shout out to Derry Bird, but he can't guard anybody. Kyle Kuzma hasn't guarded anyone since the bubble. He was pretty darn good on defense during the bubble run, but that was 5 years ago. Like, Miles Turner, a good like sort of secondary rim protector. They start this game playing double big with Sims and Turner. Jericho Sims just like he's like probably a decent third center or whatever, just because he's so big and bouncy. But like they can't guard. They have no way to score with this. Like, who can drive to the rim? Like their team stinks, and the Blazers treated them like a bad team. They treat them like a bad team. I think that was the best part about this game from Portland's perspective is like that Bucks team is in a bad way. They're in a bad way. They're going to get Giannis back, and they would probably be really competitive. But like they're not. That's not a good basketball team. Their roster's not very good. And the Blazers thrashed them. Right. The Bucks led for freaking 32 seconds in this game, and it was not competitive in the third quarter. Like the Blazers went like the game was over after 3 quarters, and they had to play some like formality games. And then over the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, up 21, they outscored it by 12 and pushed the lead to 33. Like they dominated them. But I also think this game gets, we're kind of just seeing the Blazers get back into who they want to be. And I don't want to, I want to give the coaching staff credit, but not too much. I don't want to give them too much credit here because let's be honest about what they've done. I've been kind of obsessing over the changes they've made on defense. Obsessing is not the right word. It's a daily podcast. I've been talking about it a lot. Obsessing is the whole damn brand. I've been really focused on the defense. One, because I thought they were going to be a really good defensive team. And they struggled after some early injuries, and it's like how did Matisse Thybulle and Blake Wesley like upend the whole ship, right? Like how did missing your backup point guard who's going to play 13 minutes a game, how did that make you a terrible defensive team, right? So I've been leaning in a bunch to like kind of how the Blazers have shifted on defense. They were pressing more than any team in the league by several standard deviations, the most pressing anyone had done in certainly the tracking era, and probably in the 21st century, right? Like just like world historic levels of pressing in 2025. And then when they didn't have the sort of guns to do that, and I talked to Thiago Splitter and did an episode about this, is like they kind of leaned into playing a bunch of zone. And then they were among the league leaders in playing zone. They played the most zone of anyone over like a 5-game stretch, right? So they were really committed to playing like multiple styles of defense and showing multiple looks, and they just scrapped that. They're just playing the way they played last year. So I credit them for figuring it out, right? But at the beginning of the season, I was working on a larger project about pressing in the league, and I talked to Chauncey Billups about it, and then that dude got arrested by the FBI. He, as a side note, pled not guilty today, has a initial court date set for March, and then the trial, next court date set for March, and then trial set for September of 2026. If you are somehow holding out some sort of weird belief that Chauncey Billups is ever going to coach the Portland Trail Blazers again, let it go. Let that one go. He's never going to come back. Let that one go. He might beat the case, but he's never coming back to coach this basketball team. I digress. I was working on this story, and I had asked Billups about it, and it's like, to my eyes, it looks like you guys really called off the press last season. Like you dropped your pickup points way back, and just weren't as aggressive. And he said, yeah, that was intentional. Like we leaned into it, and that was part of why we were better on defense. Kind of like dialed it back. That's exactly what they've done over the last few games. They've just dialed back the pressure. They're still sending maybe one guy in the backcourt, but it's not hounding four guys in the backcourt. It allows them to get back in transition a little bit better. It's a little bit less defensive energy to expend 80 feet from the rim. And really what they're trying to do is just like make the guy dribble, turn his body a couple times, right? Take two extra seconds to get across half court. And then so they're playing a lot more defense set where they're not like extended super far out. Now they still pressure in the half court, right? They still guard up pretty high in the half court, but the pickup points are at 38 feet, not 85, 90 feet. And it's been way better. It's just they look way more comfortable in that way. So credit to the coaching staff for figuring it out. But the thing they figured out is like play like they did last year when they were a really good defensive team. And perhaps that's sometimes you try to reinvent the wheel and then you just, you never get rolling. And you're like, didn't we have a wheel? Isn't there a wheel in the garage? And then you just get the wheel out. So they went and got the wheel out, and credit to them. Dominated a Bucks team that the Bucks look bad. And the Blazers, like I said, treated them like a bad basketball team. That's important. Margin of victory, dominating teams, that's a sign of being a lot better. Like, you just win going away, and particularly to bounce back from an ugly game against OKC with just non-competitive. Oh, that's what the champs look like. Okay, well this team looks like kind of just like a bad basketball team. Treat them as such. One of the ways that they have also improved as of late, and the Blazers are like, they lost 5 in a row and now they've won 2 of 3. I'm not exactly saying like they're fixed, baby. It's like they played a good game against the Warriors, and they found a way to win. That was a fun and impressive game, and they shot the lights out against the Bucks and just torched them in this game. And they've kind of figured out how they want to play. And I think the how is more important than maybe the overall impacts, because there could be some bumps along the way, but like figuring out what you want to do is an important part of any team. Let's talk about some of the stuff they've changed. And I want to focus first on Jerami Grant, who I think was, he's 35 points in this game. He's really good. And then we'll talk Donovan Clingan in the third segment. Join me for a little JG talk in that second segment, won't ya? First, though, I want to tell you that today's program is brought to you by Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends Advanced Tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood Strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your moves. Today's program is also brought to you by DripDrop. When you're hydrated, everything just works better. Your focus, your energy, your mood, even your skin's going to look better. That's why you got to check out DripDrop. It's a doctor-developed hydration that keeps you running at full power no matter what your day might look like. DripDrop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading brands, using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals and firefighters and 90% of the top college and pro teams. I get the DripDrop Juicy Pack. It's a variety pack with flavors that I personally enjoy. I am a guy who could be better about hydrating, and DripDrop is the sort of place that is the thing that puts me over the top. Say I'm gonna get hydrated. I'm gonna have a good day. So if I am working out, I'm hydrated. I'm ready to go. And if I'm just chilling, my mind is right, my brain is right, and maybe my skin's looking good, so I can make a little YouTube video better later on in the day. Right now, DripDrop offering my podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to DripDrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's DripDrop.com. Promo code is LOCKEDONNBA. You'll get 20% off. Stock up now before the weather changes, and you're gonna not hit your hydration goals. Keep your body and your mind performing at their best with DripDrop. All right. Let's talk Jerami Grant in this game. 35 points, season high for JG, and he lived at the stinking free throw line. The Milwaukee Bucks in this game attempted 18 free throws. Jerami Grant took 19. Jerami Grant took more free throws than the Bucks. Now, if this happens to an opponent, the comments that I will see from Blazer fans in my YouTube comments is, the refs hijacked the game. I can't believe it. Like, Devin Booker is a criminal. Lock him. But nah. Aggressive players get rewarded. Drawing fouls is a skill. You can try SGA in the court of morality on your own time. I don't whine about the refs. It's basketball. It's a subjective game filled with a bunch of improv. Jerami Grant, though, shot more free throws than the other team. Jerami Grant took 6 free throws in the first quarter and 8 in the second quarter. He had 14 at halftime. He took another 5 in the third. He took 19 free throws in 3 quarters. The Bucks took 18. Dude dominated. And he dominated with long strides. They couldn't keep him in front of him. Like, Jerami Grant loves to do that heavy crossover with his right hand, where he kind of keeps the ball in his right hand with a sort of high hang dribble, like he's going to go right to his dominant hand. And if you do lean that way, like he's going to go right, a hard looping big cross. He needs space to operate, though. He's not a guy with a tight handle that can operate in without a little bit of room. But if you do give him room, that big swooping right to left cross and his big strides and the way he can, he's good at getting a little bit of contact and high releasing to make sure that he gets a shot off and it looks like he got whacked. He's good at falling down. He does it all of the time. He's good at it. And that free throw shooting was a huge part of his arsenal. But, he has 16 free throws and just 8 just made 8 shots. He was just 5 of 11 inside the arc. The free throw game was what changed it for him. But I think in general, Grant has been, he started out really hot to begin the season. Then he got cooled down a little bit, stopped shooting as well, and I think was kind of figuring out where things work. And I think some of that was the Blazers just in general went through a rough patch, and Grant was part of that. But he was really good at the beginning of the year, and then he wasn't very good, and now he's had some good games. Some of them are just hot shooting. He just shot really stinking well. Against the Bulls, he shot really stinking well from 3. And sometimes it's just ball go in, right? You make your threes, the ball goes in, right? It's just it feels better. He had that really, really weirdly anonymous night against Golden State where he's 0 of 8 from the field. 21 versus OKC. He was the only person who could score with regularity against the Thunder on Sunday. Now 35 against Milwaukee. But I think what this really is a juxtaposition, because each of those games I think is unique. It's a good shooting night, a good free throw night. But it's more of just Grant, the juxtaposition of what Grant was last year. And what he was last year was a very bad offensive player. You don't need to cut it any other way. He was a bad offensive player. And my read on that is a couple different things. So they're all in kind of the same buckets. But basically, the prior years, he had gotten a bunch of just natural post touches. He was going to catch the ball at 17 feet, ISO, go to work. And the Blazers last year kind of leaned into, and they've even gone further in that direction this year, just saying, we don't want to take mid-rangers. If you do take middies, last year, Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe took some middies. This year, Sharpe takes middies and pretty much no one else. If that's a comfort shot for you, sure, you can go to it a little bit. And Sharpe is about the same level of taking middies in non-restricted area twos, mid-range shots inside the paint. He's in terms of per game shots, he's taken about the same number as he was last year. The drop off is the everyone else's of the world, and the Blazers are really aggressive in this sort of getting to the rim. They lead the league in shots right inside there at the paint. It is a math thing. But last year, Grant, when they sort of said, hey, you're not going to get your comfort shots, you're not going to get your rhythm shots, we're taking away your post-ups, he just didn't ever adjust in a meaningful way. And he really struggled inside the arc, and I think it bled over to some of his shot selection. His usage dipped because he's just I don't know where my points are going to come from. I think this year, and I credit to Jerami, and I credit the change in the offense for this, is that in an offense that now has a little bit more movement, less guys standing in the corner and watching, sort of less. There's still some pounding the ball at the top of the key, pick and roll stuff, but it's not as egregious as it once was. And there's some natural, you'll see, even if it gets caught in a high pick and roll, because they'll run a bunch of early screens, they want to pass cut after you pass, you move more often. There's certainly more off ball, movement stuff, even though it can get bogged down at times. You kind of know it when you see it. But in an offense that is predicated on creating more space and playing with pace in the half court, Grant has found an ability to get better shots this year. And he's not doing it with, a steady diet of posting up at 17 feet and taking fall away jumpers. He kind of cut those shots out of his diet last year, but how he scored really, he never figured it out. He said after the season, he said, I just didn't make the right adjustments. And I think he also, it boiled over on him. He was a pretty miserable with kind of how he played, and then just sort of where he fit in and all of those things. And yeah, I think he felt like maybe he wasn't prioritized in the way he wanted to be, and for the first time in 5 years not being prioritized, I don't think it sat well with Jerami. And then he just responded so much better this year, and credit to him, right? He's been better than Shaedon Sharpe. Whether he ends up starting, he's just been a better basketball player than him this season. There's no doubt about it. Been a better defender and better offensive player. He'd be better at special teams too if they had it this season. I credit to Jerami. He's figured out where he fits in the offense. The offense with more space has allowed him those space to move, the space to take those long striding drives, the space to do those big looping crossovers, and a carte blanche to shoot 3-pointers because they really need him to shoot. And I think he's leaned in and really, really adapted well. Credit to Jerami for kind of figuring out where he fits in, and came out of the gates guns blazing, had a stretch where he wasn't very good, and then has come back and had a handful of really good games. 3 out of his last 4 has been really solid. Credit to JG for the adjustment. He was really good tonight. He dominated. He played plus minus is a funny thing, so I don't actually think this means anything, but he played 31 minutes tonight, and he was a plus 39. He was a plus 39. Basically, he left when the Blazers were up 33. That's what that tells you. It's the 4 minutes into the fourth quarter, I'm gonna go sit down. We're up 28. It's he didn't participate in the losing the lead at the end of the game portion of the program. Okay, let's talk Donovan Clingan, because all of a sudden Donovan Clingan is involved, and it's really, 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 really working in a way that it really, really, really did not in earlier parts of the season for DC. He's he can be part of the offense in a positive way, and it didn't always feel like that was an option. Let's talk about that to close the show. Join me there. First, though, let's talk game time. There's nothing better than being in the arena for a basketball game. Blazers got a couple home games coming up this week, Wednesday and Sunday. And if you want to get yourself in the arena for a cup game against the San Antonio Spurs or a Sunday matinee against the Oklahoma City Thunder, no better place to do that than Game Time, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. So what I like about Game Time is the app is super easy to use and super clean. Search Portland Trail Blazers. The Moda Center pops up. You're looking at a little picture of the Moda Center, and there'll be prices all over the arena, right? All little flags of costs. And those costs that you see as you are scrolling, and you can zoom in and zoom out, what you see is what you get. There's no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, if you've never sat in that section or you're new to coming to the Moda Center, there's a 360 view that you can click on and look exactly what it'll look like from your view in the arena before you buy anything. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Still a pass versus point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. Still listening to Locked On Blazers. Donovan Clingan is all of a sudden involved in the Blazers offense, and it just looks better when you're not playing 4-on-5. Clingan against the Bucks had 14 points, 11 boards, dished out 4 dimes, had a steal and a block, 5 of 8 from the floor, hit a couple threes, hooping. But I want to talk about one play. 9 minutes left in the second quarter. Denny they run a little screen action up top. Donovan Clingan tries to seal his man. It doesn't work right away. Denny kind of dribbles the ball back out. He's on the left wing. Klingan's on the left block. Direct post up to Clingan. They never do this. According to Synergy, that's the third post up catch that Donovan Clingan has had the entire season. He's no good in the post. Why would you throw it to him? And they're not even a post-up team really to begin with. Like, it's just not a place they go. They kind of like throw it into Hansen sometimes when he plays there because it's like they're trying to figure out strengths and stuff of players, but like they're just not a post-up team, and Klingan's not a post-up guy, and they throw it to him in the post. And then Denny relocates. He switches with the guy at the top of the key. So Denny's on the left wing. Another Blazers player is at the top of the key. And they just relocate. They switch places. It's good. After you pass, move. It's sort of a basic tenet of basketball. You maybe don't always see it, but that little relocation, and Donovan Clingan, because he's on the left block, his right hand is towards the baseline, and so he can look out towards the top of the key, and he whips a one-handed pass out of the post as Kyle Kuzma sinks in too far to Denny Avdia, and Denny steps into a three. Denny was acing threes in this game. He was 5 of 7 from three. One of them they missed. It was a wide open shot. Like he had a very good night shooting the ball. Clingan finds him, steps into one top of the key. Denny does that thing where he puts his hands down, starts backpedaling. He knows it's good, baby. But that's a pass that Clingan has basically never had an opportunity to make with this team. That's a play that you rarely see them do. And like, they're not going to run that again, right? He's not going to become Draymond Green. They're not going to throw it to him in the post and let him make plays. Now, should they at some point in the future? Boy, do I hope they do. But not every team is going to be as stupid as Kyle Kuzma to be like, why are you helping in the post against Donovan Clingan? What are you doing, dog? You're guarding the Blazers' best player. But what I want to highlight with that is like Donovan Clingan being involved, having every player on the team be involved and not playing 4-on-5 on offense or sometimes 3-on-5 when you have some just total zeros out there is so important for the Blazers just to grease the wheels. And the Blazers kind of forgot about Clingan for a stretch. They just had no way to incorporate him. And slowly but surely over the last 5 or 6 games, they've done a much better job of just having him be involved. Clingan's still limited, right? Like, I guess Friday night though, late clock, ran a pick and roll, had to put up a little mid-range jumper, hit like a Dirk leaning mid-range jumper at the foul line against the Warriors. So maybe Klingan's got a whole bunch in his bag that we haven't seen. I doubt it, but still, like, there was this stretch from October 29th. This is courtesy of Synergy Sports. The stats tracking data looked up by me on Synergy. It's courtesy of me via Synergy Sports. But October 29th against Utah to November 12th against the Pelicans. That's a 7-game stretch where Donovan Clingan didn't score a single point in the pick and roll. Not as a roll man, not as a pick and pop guy. 0 pick and roll points in a 7-game stretch over basically 2 weeks of basketball. Nothing. 14 days, 7 games, 0 points in the pick and roll. How are you going to have a 7-foot center who doesn't exist in the pick and roll? How are you going to be a team that runs a cajillion high, drag screens, which is like a high early pick and roll and early offense, and have the dudes who sets those screens just not be involved? In fact, during that 7-game stretch, Donovan Clingan touched the ball in pick and roll opportunities 4 times. 7 games without a point, 4 touches in the pick and roll during that 7-game stretch. 2 weeks of playing center, 4 total touches in the pick and roll. Bonkers, right? You just have to use him. And during that 7-game stretch, he had just 5 total assists. He's just not involved. He's not involved in the offense. Over the last 6 games, he has 14 total assists. Hello. He's all of a sudden, he's like, he's part of it, right? Like he's part of the game. He struggled a bit over to begin the season. He was averaging 8 and 8 with 1.1 assists, shooting 47% from the field, under 17.5, 18% from three. He's taken 7 shots a night in about 25 minutes. But in that stretch, he had just 2.4 potential assists a game, which means he just wasn't touching it with a way to be active. His usage during that stretch was in the 10th percentile. Now, it has only ticked up a little bit since that first 12-game stretch. And his averages are a little bit better, 14 and 12, and obviously, and just under 3 assists a game. But like he's and to go with 2 blocks, but shooting 54% from the floor during that stretch, 38% from three, taking more shots, 9.8 versus 7, basically 3 more shots a night, taking more free throws. He was taking just 1 a game. Now he's taking 3 a game, and he's playing a little bit more, 26 versus 25 minutes. Like it's not like his big uptick in minutes. He's just doing more. And I credit the Blazers coaching staff and the players and Clingan himself for figuring out, hey, he can't be a nobody down here. Clingan's probably he's probably never going to be like, I don't know. You might think he's going to end up being like a high-level 3-point shooter. I'm not sure I buy that. Maybe he's a league average shooter at some point. It does, and it's, it doesn't matter as much. But like, he's probably not going to be an elite role guy ever. But just like the fact that he is now getting touches, like in this particular game, he's had 4 touches in the pick and roll against the Bucks. He had another 4 against OKC. He had 5 against the Warriors. Like he had a 2-week stretch where he didn't touch the ball in pick and rolls, and 4 touches in 7 games, and now he's touching like 4 or 5 times a night. He's not going to be a high volume pick and roll guy, but just like having him be involved and get to make plays and get to make decisions, it just engages more defenders. It just makes everything easier. You can't be out there and playing 4-on-5. I'm not here to like tell you that they've like unlocked the magic of Donovan Clingan, but like Clingan as an active player is so much better. And then I'll say this in Clingan's, and to close the show here in praise of Clingan, he's playing his ass off. He is playing so hard. He is playing so stinking hard. Not that he wasn't playing hard at the beginning of the year, but I think he was trying to figure out so much of where he fit in that some of the energy was just like, okay, I'm going to be really aggressive on defense and make some, be physical, and I'm going to foul fighting for a rebound. He has locked in on how he's going to help. He's an elite offensive rebounder. Go do it. And now that he's getting a little bit more carrot on offense, like he just played so stinking hard the last few games. He was great against the Bulls in the game the Blazers almost won. He was really, really good early against the Warriors, forced them to change their lineup, and then when they kind of figured it out, they got him out of the game. And he was darn good against the Bucks, just solid as heck, right? Having Clingan be a guy who knows what his strengths are, and that's probably one of his best skills as a player. Play to those strengths, but don't just totally ignore his weaknesses. He still has to get touches in the pick and roll. He still has to give him a chance to make plays, because you just have to have more variety. And totally losing Clingan for 2 weeks in the offense and then say, okay, we're going to get him more touches at the top of the key. He's going to do more handoff stuff. Even if he doesn't get the ball in pick and rolls, he's still going to be a facilitator and all of these things. Like at least just to like get actions going, to run pitchbacks to him, just so all 5 dudes who are defending have to worry about the existence of those players. And I think Clingan has kind of locked in on what they need from him, and he's just like, he knows what the deal is. And some nights Rob's going to be a better fit for what's out there, and Clingan's not going to play, but you're still getting really positive time in his minutes. So yeah, I think that'll be something to track, is just how much Clingan is involved. Let's close it up there, and then we'll do it again tomorrow. This is what we do 5 days a week, where we get podcasts, also on YouTube. We're going to do 5 shows this week, even through Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. So yeah, holler at your boy. Tomorrow's program, Justin Verrier of The Ringer is going to join the program. We'll talk all things Trailblazers through the first 16 games of the season. I guess 18 games of the season. So, sorry, I shorted them 2 games. We'll talk what we've seen through the first 18 games of the Blazers season. You're not going to want to miss that one. Come back for that. And then the Blazers will play the San Antonio Spurs in a cup game with a chance to advance in the NBA Cup on Wednesday. So when your feed's on Thanksgiving morning, you'll have a cup recap. That's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.